Hello everybody, this is Mr. Chernetsky, and I am here to do some algebra review. We are doing solving equations. This is our first algebra learning target. So our first set of problems starts on page 10 in your packet, and we're going to work through questions 1 through 6 first. So our first problem, all of these algebra problems, solving equations problems, have one particular skill that needs to be, or a little trick to each one of these that we're going to go over here to help you solve. So each of these have a little piece of difficulty, whether that's a fraction or a proportion or something else in them. Okay. So starting with number 1. What makes this one difficult is this negative here in front of the parentheses, because really what that means is there's a -1 that needs to be distributed to both of those terms. And when we do that, our equation comes out to be 4 minus 3x plus 5. Okay, so the negative gets distributed to both of those terms. And then from here, we just go ahead and collect our like terms and solve. So 4 and 5 give us 9, minus 3x equals 6. And then we'll go ahead and subtract the 9. And we get negative 3x equals -3. We'll divide by -3. And we'll end up with x equals +1. For number 2, we have a proportion, which means a fraction equals a fraction, or something over something equals something over something. Whenever we encounter this, our shortcut to solve is to cross multiply. So that means that the numerator of one gets multiplied by the denominator of the other. And we need to make sure we distribute into those numerators. So 5 times x minus 2 equals 3 times x plus 7. And then we'll go ahead and distribute and solve. So we have 5x minus 10 equals 3x plus 21. And we'll subtract 3x from both sides. So now we have 2x minus 10 equals 21. We'll add 10 to both sides. So now we have 2x equals 31. Go ahead and divide by 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as a fraction. We can't simplify it. This is probably the best or my favorite way to represent this. If you convert it to a decimal, in this case it's okay because it'll be a terminating decimal. It'll be 15.5. But this is the best best representation of that answer. Okay, number 3. The thing that makes this one so difficult are the fractions. So I say if we can, let's get rid of the fractions. And in this case, we see that there is a 2 in the denominators of these fractions, which means they're being divided by 2. So in order to get rid of that, we're going to multiply this entire equation by 2. And what we do on one side of the equation, we have to do on the other. So I have to multiply the left side of the equal sign by 2. And when we do that, we get 8x minus 2 equals, now the fractions are going to cancel out because 2 times 1/2 is just 1, so we're going to end up with a negative 1x and a negative 1. And now our equation is a lot easier to solve. We don't have any fractions to deal with. We can collect our like terms. I'm going to do that by adding x to both sides. So now I've got 9x minus 2 equal to negative 1. Add 2 to both sides. And we have 9x equal to 1. We'll divide by 9 on both sides, and we end up with x equals 1/9. Okay. Number 4 looks simple enough to start. We're going to distribute the 5 and the 2. So we end up with 5 plus 20x equals 6 plus 20x. Okay. And my next move may be to subtract 20x. But when I do that, here's where we have a problem. 20x cancels over here, and 20x cancels over on the right. And all we have left now is 5 equal to 6. So we don't have any x's to solve for. we just end up with this statement that 5 equals 6. Well, 5 does not equal 6. So if your x's cancel out and you end up with a false statement, that means that there are no solutions. What that means is there is no value of x that we could plug in and get a true statement. Okay. Number 5. We have another fraction here. So one thing we could do is we could get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by 5, since 5 is in the denominator. The other option we have is to notice that, hey, if we actually just multiply this 3/5 into these two terms, because 5 goes into both 5 and 10, we're not going to have any fractions after we distribute that. So that's actually going to be the simplest way to do that. So we're going to go ahead and distribute into both parentheses. So on the left we have 5x plus 10 equal to 3/5 times 5, just off the side here in case you weren't sure. If we do 3/5 times 5, well, that's really 5 over 1, so that's going to end up being 15 over 5. Well, 15 divided by 5 is 3. Plus, and then 3/5 times 10 over 1 gives us 30 over 5, so that is going to be 6x. And we can solve from here. So subtract 5x. And we get 10 equal to 3 plus x. We'll subtract 3 from both sides. And we end up with x equaling 7. Lastly, we got number 6 here. Again, we have a fraction. We have 1/5 x, or we could even write this as x over 5 equals 15. Either way, in order to get this fraction eliminated, we need to multiply by the denominator, so we're going to multiply both sides by 5. And we end up with x equaling 75. Okay, and the rest of the solving problems will be shown on the second video.